What's going on, guys? It's been just 24 hours since the Marathon server slam dropped, and I've been playing a lot, taking some notes on like what to pay attention for, like what items to keep, like what the different consumables do, like the different PvE events too, like the different bosses, the UESC you can fight. And I just wanted to like put a lot of my like thoughts so far together. Just the other day we played for like 12 or 13 hours, so I mean, this is not going to cover like everything, but if you guys would like me to dive into like a specific topic some more, please leave that in the comments below. But for now, I'm just going to kind of like cover like a wide range of stuff that I've like been noticing, maybe help you guys out, maybe make the game feel easier. I know like a lot of us Destiny players, we haven't played like an extraction shooter necessarily before, so I've played like Tarkov and played a little bit of Arc Raiders in the past, so like, you know, I kind of like got an idea of it. So like, yeah, I'm hoping I can give you guys some tips and you know, overall have a fun time on this game, because I think there's a very high skill ceiling for what Bungie can do, and knowing like the type of content Bungie creates, build crafting, the gunplay, I mean, I'm really excited. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So first, talking about like the world in Marathon, on each of the different maps there are going to be different events that can spawn in, either player based, like player triggered, or random, like UESC drop ships or player activated exfils. So as you play the game more often, you're going to want to pay attention to signals that indicate a team's leaving, or maybe like birds just flew up from an alleyway and that means that players were just there. Or in this clip, for example, we saw a dropship coming in, and we knew that players had to have called that. So what we did was just push up, and essentially just a free wipe. So in Marathon, another thing to mention is with with teams with different shell compositions, the way you can counter third parties and taking engagements really raises the skill ceiling. Now, I haven't played many of the other shells aside from Triage and Destroyer, but I can just imagine that running, say, like Triage, Destroyer, and maybe Recon can like help you counter third parties. Like if you're getting pushed by a team, you can just pop Recon ult, and then the Destroyer can just push them. And then if you're all weak, like the Triage can just pocket you all with the drone, and if someone goes down, the Triage could just use your ult to res, right? But all that to say, like as you play Marathon more, just pay attention to these signals throughout the world that can, you know, help you survive third parties or, you know, go for more fights. So talking more about the environment in Marathon, you can see that some maps will have a special activity. I think they're all called the Wraith Warden, but this one in particular just has you fight a boss. So as far as I know, this is like the pinnacle of PvE at the moment. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be way more PvE, like Destiny raid inspired events throughout the map. But you can kind of get a glimpse at like the different abilities that this boss has. Like for example, she can go invisible. She also sends out clones. Now I'm not sure if they're like, there's a threshold that she sends she activates different abilities depending on how much health she has. But overall, it's a pretty fun fight. Although what I've heard from other people is that you want to be careful taking these fights, like the PvE ones, because you make so much noise that you're such an easy target to get third partied. I also want to talk about the USC AI and like their aggression. I think you really need to be careful at times, because if there's like a horde of UESC, they'll just bum rush you at times. So you got to be careful and kind of look out for that, because they will kill you. And another thing I noticed about just engagements in general with PvE or with the UESC is that the bosses aren't necessarily bullet sponges, but the sheer amount of adds and like reinforcements they can call in makes the whole situation a threat. So you're not necessarily mag dumping into a boss just for it to die. You're fighting the reinforcements it calls in, and then you're taking cover, you're healing, and then you're also adapting to like the abilities that the boss can do. And overall, it's pretty fun. So if you're going to take an engagement in PvE, you're going to want to make sure like you save your ult, like I do here, and also bring a ton of meds and ammunition. Because you burn through it so quick when you're fighting the AI, and especially if another team pulls up. And taking a look here at the loot, the commanders typically drop pretty good loot. Like here I got a purple salvage, which just sells for credits on exfil. And then I also got a deluxe bag. So another thing I wanted to show off, for anyone who likes to snipe and is looking for the bolt action sniper, you're going to want to look for the UESC enemies with the snipers in their hand that can like target you from a distance with the red laser. Because on drop, I think they have a chance to drop the sniper. I'm not sure if it's guaranteed, but I got 2 snipers with this method. So this specifically was on the bottom right-hand corner of the perimeter map. And so I'm assuming you can just farm these guys for their drops. And then one last thing you can do, if you're looking to just farm UESC drops, you can just hit these guarded exfils, and it'll spawn a UESC commander every time that you can just farm for, well, not farm, but just kill once and you can loot their body. Typically they have some good stuff on them. But I found that the PvE loot in this game isn't too bad. It's pretty rewarding. It drops some blue items, some purple items. So if you're at the end of the lobby, or at the end of raid, you can just hit these guarded exfils and essentially just get some free loot before you get out, provided you have like ammo and heals and whatnot. Just something extra to consider. Another thing I wanted to show here was just like container types, specifically the lock boxes. If you've been finding lockbox keys throughout the map and such and been wondering where to find them, this is where I just found a room of them on a perimeter. And then one last thing I wanted to show off was this purple shield, and that the different shields in the games have different trade-offs in terms of your builds, your stats, and you know how much shield they can recharge. So yeah, I want to do a like more in-depth look into this, so stay tuned for a video on shields and such. So for the second half of this video, I wanted to cover factions, my thoughts on them, and also how to do your contracts easily. So taking this introductory request from Traxus, if you hover over the objective, it'll tell you in the side menu on the left the specific area you need to head to, and then also like the direction in the POI that you need to head to. In general, it's pretty self-explanatory, so that way you don't have to look up guides or anything, and you can kind of figure it all out on your own. In this example, the console that I'm interacting with was even pinged, so it was pretty helpful. And since this was an introductory quest, this was the quest needed to actually unlock the Traxus vendor or faction. And so the same principle applies to the other factions. You just complete their introductory quest, and then you speak to the vendor, and then you can establish a link with the corresponding faction. Alright, first let's look at Cyber Acme. Probably the 2 most important items that this faction offers are the barters for the shield charge and the patch kit. So I'd recommend in raid finding unstable diodes and the unstable biomass so that you guys can craft a ton of these, because having a lot of meds stocked up is always going to be beneficial in a game like this. So anytime you pass biomass or the diodes, you always want to pick those up. And aside from the barter items from this faction, you also want to pay attention to the backpacks that they offer and the corresponding upgrade to like unlock these. And then aside from that, with the upgrades, I think the 2 most important ones are like the stash size here and the credit card, like, or the wallet size as well, which is your credit size up here. So you can see mine is currently 50,000. Like for the vault space especially, you want to make sure you are actively looking for the diodes and gunmetal in raid. Alright, so the next faction here is New Caloric. They're going to offer like all your patch kits, your meds, and consumables, which are really, really strong in this game. The consumables especially are really good for navigating through the environment. I'll throw some clips up now. So basically each consumable has its own purpose, whether it's getting rid of negative effects or buffing your character. So you're definitely going to want to make sure you stock up on as many of these as possible. Okay, so looking at the new caloric upgrades, these 2 trees specifically are really strong because if you upgrade them to max, they're just going to allow you to every day get a daily refresh on your free consumables that they offer. And since consumables are probably in my top 3 most important items in this game, you're definitely going to want to make sure you max these out. Alright, next let's take a look at Traxus. Traxus is your weapon mods, and they offer some weapons as well. Up here you can see their barters, but most importantly, you can get your weapon chips here. Of course, just like all the other factions, you need to upgrade their skill tree in order to unlock these higher rarity ones. So stay tuned. I'm going to try to test each and every one of these for you guys coming up. Okay, so real quick, we'll look at Maida. Maida's fairly simple. They're just grenades, explosives, and stuff like that, which you can, of course, unlock through upgrades. And then they offer a select few implants as well. Fairly straightforward, though. Alright, last but certainly not least, let's look at Arachne. So Arachne's probably the most essential faction that you're going to want to level up, at least quickly, because they have access to all of the meta weapons, at least so far. So like the double pump shotgun, the railgun, and like a bunch of enhanced, deluxe, and like superior weapons here, you can all purchase. It might not necessarily be optimal to like actually purchase these weapons, but it may be like if you just want the base weapon itself, then I'm pretty sure this is the only place that you can get them as of now, unless you get them off players. And then also taking a look at the implants, Arachne offers a lot of interesting buildcraft implants such as this. Like when your shields are depleted, defeating a hostile restores a portion of your shields, right? Like that sounds like something that came out of Destiny, and there's like a ton of these similar implants that you can use in your build to enhance your build, of course, and that's why I think this game is very interesting. So you're definitely going to want to make sure you upgrade all the different skill trees in for this faction for that. Alright, and so with that, I hope this video helped you guys out. Maybe improve your like item management, look out for like certain consumables, and understand like kind of the end game when it comes to faction upgrades, and kind of how to get like a positive feedback loop with, you know, what items to constantly be obtaining and like restocking, right? Also look out for more in-depth guides I'm gonna put out, like with specifically looking at you know, meds, grenades, the different weapons, the different implants, chip mods. There's a lot to cover, so you know, I just hope this is a good kind of baseline for you guys. Maybe enjoy the gameplay, learn something new, and yeah, with that, I'll see y'all later, and goodbye.